Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Law, SOL, Diploma in Paralegal Practice, DIP, BLE 001 Introduction to the Indian Legal System, Block to Rights and Duties, Unit 6 Constitutional Remedies, 6.1 Introduction. If I was asked to name any particular article in this constitution as the most important, an article without which this constitution would be a nullity, I could not refer to any other article except this one. It is the very soul of the constitution and the very heart of it. Dr. Ambedkar on Article 32 during the Constituent Assembly Debates 1, Part 3 of our constitution gives us certain fundamental rights. As you know, a right without an effective remedy is meaningless and a worthless declaration. A right becomes meaningful only if it can be enforced through a court of law. Hence, our constitution makers provided a remedy for the enforcement of our fundamental rights in the constitution itself. The right to move the Supreme Court where a fundamental right has been infringed is itself a fundamental right. It is a constitutional remedy which has been guaranteed by the Constitution. In order to provide an effective and accessible mechanism for the protection of fundamental rights, our Constitution confers power on both the Supreme Court and the High Courts to grant effective and speedy remedies whenever such rights are violated. This power conferred on the High Courts under Article 226 is broader in scope as a High Court can be approached for any other purpose, too. This means that a High Court can also determine if any other legal right has been infringed. Apart from a fundamental right, the courts can issue any order, direction, or writ in a case under Articles 32 by 226. A writ petition is a very effective method for seeking enforcement of fundamental rights. What is a writ? We will, in this unit, discuss the powers of the Supreme Court and High Courts under Articles 32 and 226 respectively, and the various writs that are available for enforcement of our fundamental rights. 6.2 Objectives. After studying this unit, you should be able to explain the various writs, apply your understanding of writs to develop strategy for enforcement of a fundamental right in a given fact situation. 6.3 Article 32. Article 32. 1. The right to move the Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for the enforcement of the rights conferred by this part is guaranteed. The effect of the word guaranteed in Clause 1 of Article 32 is that the right to move the Supreme Court when a fundamental right has been infringed is itself a fundamental right. The Supreme Court is the guarantor and protector of fundamental rights. The following consequences flow from this guarantee. I. Supreme Court is the guarantor and protector of fundamental rights, and it is the duty of the Supreme Court to grant relief under Article 32 where a fundamental right has been violated. 2. The right cannot be suspended except under national emergency declared under Article 359. 3. An aggrieved person can approach the Supreme Court directly. He need not move a High Court. 4. Availability of alternate remedy is not a bar to the relief under Article 32. The right under this article cannot be abrogated or taken away by any legislation. In order to make this guarantee more meaningful, as a majority of Indians can not access the court for reasons such as poverty and ignorance, the Supreme Court has interpreted the expression appropriate proceedings in Clause 1 of Article 32 liberally. The court has construed it to mean any proceeding for the enforcement of a fundamental right. Therefore, the appropriateness of a proceeding under this article is determined by the purpose for which the proceeding is initiated, which is enforcement of fundamental rights, according to the traditional rule, also known as the rule of locus standi. The right to move the court for judicial redressal was available to only those whose legal right or legally protected interest has been infringed. No one other than the person whose right is infringed could move the court. In the early 80s, the Supreme Court relaxed the rule of locus standi to enable a public-spirited citizen to approach the court for the enforcement of the fundamental rights of persons who, due to reasons such as poverty and ignorance, could not approach the court. In cases such as People's Union for Democratic Rights v Union of India 2, the Supreme Court ruled that in the event of a public wrong or public injury, any member of the public acting in good faith can approach the court on behalf of those persons who have suffered the wrong and are unable to petition the court due to their socially and economically disadvantageous position. This procedural relaxation benefited groups such as under trial prisoners and bonded laborers who otherwise would not have been able to approach the court for enforcement of their fundamental rights. The Supreme Court, in Bandhua Mukti Morcha v Union of India 3, said that the requirement of appropriateness in Clause 1 of Article 32 must be judged in the light of the purpose for which the proceeding is to be taken, namely, enforcement of a fundamental right. In this case, which dealt with the release of bonded laborers, the court held that the word appropriate does not refer to any form but to the purpose of the proceeding. Therefore, as long as the purpose of the proceeding is enforcement of the fundamental rights of poor, disabled, or ignorant, by a public-spirited person, even a letter to the court can be regarded as an appropriate proceeding. The relaxation of the rule of locus standi is a major step in so far as it led to the growth of public interest litigation, PIL. Public interest litigations at the instance of public-spirited citizens for the enforcement of fundamental or other legal rights of any person or group of persons are now regularly considered by the Supreme Court and the High Courts. Now, the judicial remedies for the enforcement of fundamental rights have been liberally construed to even treat a letter written to the court as a writ petition. Use of such innovative techniques by the Supreme Court has, to some extent, made the Constitution more relevant to a greater number of people. The Supreme Court, under Article 32, has passed many judgments in favor of the public at large as a result of public interest litigations. Some of the issues taken up by the court are ex-bonded labor, ex-protection against inhuman treatment in prisons, ex-child welfare, ex-protection of ecology and prevention of environmental pollution. We will discuss public interest litigation in detail in Unit 11 in Block 4 of this course. Let us now move on to the writs that courts can issue when a fundamental right is infringed. 6.4 The Writs, Clause 2 of Article 32 empowers the Supreme Court to issue appropriate directions, orders or writs for the enforcement of any fundamental right. The writs enumerated are habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, and certiorari. These 5 writs were known as the prerogative writs in the English law. In England, writs were issued in the exercise of the King's prerogative power of superintendence over the due observance of law by his officials and were issued by the Court of King's Bench. The writs, together, provide for judicial remedies to cover a wide range of violations that may need to be redressed. However, the court is not bound to issue only these writs. The court can issue any other order or direction to provide appropriate relief in the particular facts of the case. 6.4.1 Habeas corpus, meaning, the word habeas corpus is a Latin term which literally means, you may have, the body. Let us suppose that one evening Anuj was going for his guitar class when a riot broke out. He got mixed up with some rioters in the middle of the street. The police, while controlling the rioters, began arresting people at the scene. Anuj too was arrested for no fault of his. He was detained in the police custody wrongfully and illegally. In this case, Anuj or any person on his behalf can move the court under Art. 32. The court can issue a writ of habeas corpus in the form of an order calling upon the policemen to question their authority to detain Anuj and to produce him before the court. If the court finds out that Anuj has been wrongfully detained, the court will issue an order for Anuj's release. Thus, habeas corpus is a writ issued in the form of an order calling upon the person by whom another person is detained to bring that person before the court, and to let the court know by what authority he has detained that person. If the cause shown discloses that the detained person has been detained illegally, the court will order that he be released. Whoever has detained any person has to show the court the reasons as to why he has detained the person and whether such a detention is legal. If he is unable to show that the detention is legal, then the person so detained will be released immediately. The person detained or his relative or his friend or any other person interested can move the court for the writ of habeas corpus. Object: the object is to secure the production of an individual before a court or judge. This writ aims to give quick and immediate remedy to a person who is unlawfully detained by another person or authority. This is a protection or remedy given to any person who is deprived of his freedom, though the traditional function of the writ of habeas corpus has been to get the release of a person unlawfully detained or arrested. The Supreme Court has widened its scope. Now, it is not necessary to produce the body of the individual who has been unlawfully detained. For example, the Supreme Court has permitted the use of habeas corpus for protecting various liberties of prisoners, i.e., to prevent inhuman and cruel treatment meted out to the prisoners in jail. Here, the Supreme Court did not require that the prisoners should be produced before it. This writ is being increasingly used to prove allegations of dowry death and in cases involving custody of children. For instance, in one case, a marries M without revealing anything about his past. After some days, M is tortured for dowry and killed. A son born to them is taken away by his maternal grandparents as there is no one to look after him. A files a habeas corpus petition in the court in order to have custody of his child. The court, considering the child's welfare and A's past criminal record, denies the custody of the minor son to a foe. This writ is of remedial nature and is not used as an instrument of punishment. That is, the object of the writ is not to punish anything illegal but to release anyone who has been illegally imprisoned or detained. If the illegal detention has ceased before this writ would be issued, then the writ will not apply compensation. While issuing the writ of habeas corpus, the court can award compensation. Since the writ of habeas corpus is remedial in nature, the Supreme Court has said that it can award compensation to the party aggrieved in appropriate cases, and not in every case. For instance, in one case, the Supreme Court awarded Rs 30,000 as compensation to a person who had spent 14 years in jail because of the irresponsible behavior of the state government authorities. The authorities had received an order to release that person from jail, but due to their negligence he was not directed to be released from jails. In another case, a group of policemen take away a youth from his home without giving any reasons for the same. He does not return to his home for a couple of days. His family is not informed of the place where he is kept in police custody. Despite repeated attempts to get his son released, the father of the boy files a habeas corpus petition in the court. The father alleges that his son was not traceable as he had been killed in a fake encounter by the police. His son had been taken into illegal custody as no reasons were given for withholding his son for so long in detention. The court ordered an inquiry and it was established that the youth had indeed been killed in a fake encounter by the police. The court awarded Rs 5 lakhs as compensation to the aggrieved father. 6. The right to move the Supreme Court is a fundamental right. The legislature cannot deprive any person from this right except during proclamation of emergency. Even during emergency, a writ of habeas corpus can be filed for the enforcement of fundamental rights guaranteed under Article 21, right to life and personal liberty, and Article 22, Protection against arrest and detention of the Constitution. Mere delay in filing this writ will not disentitle any person interested from filing this writ. However, once filed, the writ is required to be heard and disposed of expeditiously. 6.4.2 Mandamus, meaning, mandamus is the most valuable and essential remedy in the administration of justice. Mandamus means we command or we order. Who is this commanding or ordering authority? It is the Supreme Court and can be the High Courts in some occasion. Mandamus is an order issued by a court to an authority directing it to perform a public duty imposed upon it by the Constitution or by any other law in force for the time being. It is a judicial remedy which can be issued to any kind of authority exercising functions of a public nature. These authorities can be a government, corporation, subordinate court, or public authority having a public duty. Object. The main object of this writ is to compel the performance of public duty and to keep the public authorities within the limits of their jurisdiction while exercising their functions. Mandamus can be issued to enforce a legal right or a liability imposed on an authority. The affected person must have demanded justice and it must have been refused by the concerned authority. It should be noted that the writ can be issued directing some person or authority to do a certain thing or to abstain from doing something. Let us take the case of Dr. P. Venugopal, a renowned and internationally acclaimed cardiovascular surgeon who was the director of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIIMS. But due to a legislation enacted in 2007 called AIIMS Amendment Act 2007, he was made to leave his office before the completion of his term of 5 years, almost 8 months before he would have actually completed his tenure. AIIMS is a statutory body wholly financed by the Government of India. Therefore, the aggrieved petitioner filed a writ petition under Article 32. He contended that the proviso is patently targeted at a specific person and intended to affect him only. The Supreme Court held that a particular section of the legislation was unconstitutional and that Dr. Venugopal should be allowed to hold his office as a director till his tenure is completed. 7. The writ, however, cannot be issued to interfere with domestic matters of any private person or institution, for example, the relationship of a master and his domestic help. It can be issued when a state agency refuses to release public information or a judge of a subordinate court refuses entry to the reporters to a public trail. These are the duties of public nature that the concerned authorities should follow and obey. Earlier, only the person who was affected by the act of the public authority could seek mandamus. But now this rule has been changed, enabling any person to ask for a mandamus directing the public authorities to perform their duties as a matter of public interest. Continuing mandamus, there may be cases involving dereliction of a public duty by a public authority, requiring constant and continuous monitoring by the court to ensure that the concerned public authority implements the orders directions issued by the court from time to time. This is increasingly happening in several public interest litigations, for example, cases concerning environmental pollution. In such cases, the Supreme Court has said that continuous mandamus can be issued to enable regular monitoring by the court. In Vineet Narayan's case 8, where the Supreme Court was dealing with alleged Hawala transactions involving counterfeit stamp paper, the court has said that a continuing mandamus can be issued to monitor the progress of investigation. The court directed the setting up of the Central Vigilance Commission, CVC, which is entrusted with the responsibility of superintendence over the CBI's functioning and to whom the CBI reports about cases taken up by it for investigation, progress of investigations, cases in which charge sheets are filed, and their progress. 6.4.3 Quo warranto, meaning, the term quo warranto literally means, what is your authority? By this writ, a holder of an office is called upon to show to the court under what authority he holds the office. If the inquiry leads to the finding that the holder of the office has no valid title to it, the court will pass an order preventing the holder from continuing in office and declare the office vacant. Thus, in other words, a writ of quo warranto can be issued to prevent a person from holding an office which he is not legally entitled to hold. The office in question must be independent, of a public nature, and should not be a private authority or post, the appointment of an officer who possesses actual qualifications and has been rightfully chosen in accordance with the law is referred to as de jure appointment. By the term de jure, we mean in accordance with law. But if an officer, although he possesses the but has not been appointed in accordance with the law, then his appointment will be de facto. That is, he is occupying the post only by fact and not according to the provisions of law. For example, if an officer is appointed by the appointing authority, then he should be given an appointment letter as evidence of such appointment. But, suppose, an officer is told by a senior official to start working on the post to which he is appointed even before the appointment letter is issued, then the authority he holds is de facto. Object. The objective of this writ is to control executive action in matters of appointments to public offices. For long the practice in India had been to appoint the senior most judge of the Supreme Court as the Chief Justice. In 1973, the government departed from this practice and appointed Justice A. N. Ray, who ranked fourth in the order of seniority, as the Chief Justice. The three judges who were bypassed resigned in protest. This raised a hue and cry in the country, and the government was accused of tampering with the independence of the judiciary. The appointment of the new Chief Justice was challenged in the Delhi High Court through a petition asking the court to issue a writ of quo warranto under Article 226 on the grounds that the appointment was I. Malified, 2. Against the rule of seniority inherent in Art. 124, 2, and 3. The mandatory consultative process envisaged in Art. 124, 2, had not been resorted to. 9, 6.4.4 prohibition, meaning this writ can be issued by a superior court to an inferior court, including a quasi-judicial authority, for the purpose of compelling the lower court to keep within its jurisdiction and not do anything which is out of its jurisdiction. It can be issued when the judicial or quasi-judicial authority has acted under an incorrect or invalid law, x the authority has acted beyond its jurisdictional limits, x the judge of the inferior court has acted illegally, x the principles of natural justice are not followed, the matter in question should be pending consideration by the lower court and should not have been finally disposed of. Object. The object of the writ, as the name suggests, is to prohibit the body concerned from proceeding with the matter further. Earlier, the writ of prohibition was issued only to judicial or quasi-judicial bodies, but now this is being used even to prevent abuse of power by public authorities. For example, the court can prohibit a local council from licensing indecent films. 6.4.5 Certiorari, meaning certiorari means to certify. A superior court can issue an order to a lower court or any quasi-judicial authority to investigate and decide if the orders passed by them are valid and legal. A writ of certiorari, like the writ of prohibition, can be issued only if the following conditions exist: o the judicial or quasi-judicial authority has acted under an incorrect or invalid law, o there is a jurisdictional error. That is, if the authority has acted beyond its limits, o if the judge of the inferior court has acted illegally, o if the principles of natural justice are not followed. Object. If a judicial or quasi-judicial body acts in excess of its jurisdiction, then its decisions can be cancelled by superior courts by issuing the writ of certiorari. 6. 5. Article 226. Under Article 226, high courts have been given the power, concurrent with the Supreme Court to issue a direction, order or writ for the enforcement of fundamental rights. However, one can approach a High Court to seek relief for any other purpose too. Where a legal wrong or legal injury is caused to a person or to a group of persons because of violation of any constitutional or legal right, then such a person or group of persons can apply for an appropriate order, direction or writ in the High Court under Article 226. Can one approach any High Court for enforcement of a right against the central government? Initially, under Article 226, a High Court could issue an order writ only against authorities within its territorial jurisdiction. This led to an anomalous situation where an aggrieved person could not go to a High Court for enforcement of a fundamental right against the central government located in New Delhi. The 15th Amendment to the Constitution rectified this situation. Now, if the cause of action arises within the territory of a High Court, the court can entertain a case under Article 226. Can a High Court refuse to entertain a case under Article 226? It is well established that the remedy provided for in Article 226 of the Constitution of India is a discretionary remedy. The High Court has the discretion to grant such a relief and also has the discretion to refuse to grant such a relief in certain circumstances, even though a legal right might have been infringed. The court can refuse on certain grounds, such as presence of alternative remedy, delay in approaching the court, and suppression of facts. The High Court may refuse to exercise its jurisdiction under Article 226 if an alternative remedy is available. The rule of exhaustion of a remedy should be observed before invoking jurisdiction under Article 226. By this, we mean that all alternative remedies should be resorted to before approaching the High Court under Article 226. Thus, where it is open to the aggrieved person to move another tribunal, the High Court normally will not entertain a petition under Article 226. These are, however, only discretionary principles and the court can ignore them, depending on the facts of the case. The principle, however, does not apply to the enforcement of fundamental rights, either under Article 32 or under Article 226 of the Constitution. Writs discussed above are also available under Article 226. 6.6 Summary. Let us now sum up this unit. The Supreme Court and High Courts have a very critical major role as the guardian and protector of fundamental rights. If the fundamental rights of any individual are violated, then there is a remedy in our Constitution itself. The right to approach the Supreme Court for enforcement of a fundamental right is itself a fundamental right. The 5 types of writs that courts may issue are A. Mandamus, B. Certiorari, C. Quo warranto, D. Prohibition, E. Habeas corpus. This constitutional remedy can be availed of by seeking the appropriate writ from the court, even if others' rights are violated. As concerned citizens or as public-spirited citizens, we can seek redressal by filing public interest litigation. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.